There is a version of Bali that millions of people have seen and almost nobody has visited. It's the one on the screen. The lone figure on a swing arcing out over an endless green valley, the infinity pool dissolving into a jungle horizon, the temple gate perfectly mirrored in still water at sunrise with not another soul in frame. You know this Bali intimately. You've scrolled past it 1,000 times. And that's precisely the problem, because that Bali was built to be photographed, not lived in, and the gap between the image and the place you actually land in has become one of the widest of any destination on Earth. So, is Bali worth visiting? Turns out to be the wrong question, or at least an incomplete one. The real question is what happened to the place. How an island became so successfully sold as an image that the image started replacing the thing itself, and whether anything authentic survived the process. Because something did survive. That's the part the disappointment stories miss. But to find it, you have to understand what was lost first and why. Start with what Bali actually was, because it explains everything that followed. For most of the 20th century, Bali held a reputation as a kind of spiritual and natural sanctuary, and unlike most travel reputations, this one was genuinely earned. The island is a singular thing. The one Hindu stronghold in Indonesia, the largest Muslim nation on Earth, with a culture so distinct from its neighbors that arriving there has always felt like crossing into a world with its own internal logic. The terraced rice fields weren't a photo opportunity. They were a 1,000-year-old agricultural system tied directly to religious water temple networks. The pace was slow because the culture was built around ceremony and community rather than productivity. Artists, writers, and seekers have been coming for decades precisely because Bali offered something that felt authentically apart from the modern world. That reputation was real. It was also, in hindsight, a setup, a place marketed as untouched paradise, in an age of cheap flights and global social media, was always going to be discovered by everyone at once. And when it was, the discovery didn't arrive as tourism in the old sense. It arrived as content. This is the part worth understanding clearly because it's the engine of everything that went wrong. The eat, pray, love phenomenon gave Bali a narrative, the place you go to heal, to find yourself, to escape. The digital nomad boom gave it a semi-permanent population of remote workers and the infrastructure of cafes and co-working spaces to serve them. And Instagram gave it an economy built on a specific, finite set of reproducible images. The swing, the pool, the gate, the artfully arranged smoothie bowl. People stopped coming to a place and started coming to a checklist of photographs they intended to take. Bali stopped being somewhere you went and became something you collected. And no island on Earth can absorb that kind of demand without changing physically, which is exactly what happened next, and fast. Look at what the image did to the place, because this is the part the brochures crop out, and it deserves to be seen plainly. The south of the island absorbed the full impact. Kuta was already developed, but Seminyak and then especially Canggu transformed beyond recognition in just a handful of years. Canggu went from rice paddies and quiet surf breaks to a dense, traffic-strangled sprawl of cafes, construction sites, and villa developments, where the dream of tropical calm collides head-on with the daily reality of sitting motionless on a scooter in gridlock, breathing exhaust, for 45 minutes to travel a few kilometers. The roads were built for villages. They now carry the traffic of a global destination that never built the infrastructure to match the marketing. The beaches in this zone tell their own version of the story. They're frequently crowded, and during the rainy season, roughly November through March, ocean currents wash in significant quantities of plastic that accumulate on the sand in a way that is genuinely shocking against the expectations set by the photographs. It isn't always like that, and the resorts rake their private stretches, but the image of the pristine empty beach and the reality of a monsoon season tide line of trash can be the same beach a few months apart. And the iconic sites themselves have collapsed under the weight of their own fame. That flawless mirrored temple gate you've seen endlessly, the gates of heaven at Lempoing, produces its mirror effect not from a reflecting pool but from a man holding a piece of glass beneath your phone, working a queue of dozens of people waiting hours to take the identical shot. The most photographed rice terraces now charge admission and channel visitors along managed walkways past donation boxes. The solitude that defines every single one of these images is the one thing the destination can no longer provide, because everyone arrived chasing the same solitude in the same 10 spots at the same time. If this southern, site checklist Bali is the only one you reach, your disappointment isn't irrational, and it isn't your fault. You were sold something specific, and the selling of it is precisely what made it impossible to find. Now, what survived? Because the single most important fact about Bali, the one that turns this entire question around, is that everything described so far is confined to a remarkably small footprint. The South is not Bali. It's the part of Bali that was paved over to receive people who believe it is. And the radius of the damage is genuinely, surprisingly small. Leave the 30-minute zone that the overwhelming majority of visitors never leave, and you arrive in a Bali that the content economy simply could not consume, because it doesn't reduce to a single shareable frame, and what can't be photographed for status can't be commodified the same way. The thing that survived most completely is also the thing that mattered most to begin with: the culture. Balinese Hinduism is not a backdrop, and not a show put on for visitors. It is a living, daily, total practice that mass tourism has swirled around without dissolving. The small woven offerings, the Kanong sari, placed on doorsteps, dashboards, and shop counters and replaced multiple times every single day by everyone, are acts of real devotion, not decoration. The temple ceremonies, the processions in white and gold that occasionally halt traffic, the gamelan music drifting out of a village compound after dark, the cremation ceremonies that are among the most significant events in Balinese life. All of this continues with complete sincerity, often a few meters from the tourist chaos, and entirely invisible to people who never look up from the cafe. Being quietly, respectfully present around this is the kind of experience that genuinely reorganizes how a person sees the world, and it costs nothing. It asks only that you slow down enough to notice it's happening. Then there's the physical island beyond the south, which most visitors treat as if it doesn't exist. The countryside around Ubud, not the now congested center, which has its own version of the southern problem, but the villages and fields that surround it, still holds the misted, terraced, impossibly green landscape that created the myth in the first place. The east coast around Sidemen and Aimed is quiet, agricultural, and breathtaking, moving at exactly the unhurried pace the South traded away for cafes. Sidemen in particular looks like what people imagine Ubud was 20 years ago. The north, up around the crater lakes and the old mountain temples like Ulan Danu Baraton, feels like an older and entirely separate island. The volcanoes, Batur and Agung, the waterfalls in the interior, the family-run warung where the same dishes have been cooked for generations for a couple of dollars, all of it intact, undiminished, and overlooked by the majority who never leave their villa's neighborhood. This is not a hidden Bali requiring special access. It's just the Bali that doesn't fit inside a square photo, which in the current attention economy amounts to the same thing as being invisible. One more thing worth knowing, especially if Bali is your entry point to Indonesia rather than the whole trip. Bali's openness, the alcohol, the beachwear, the Hindu temple culture, is specific to Bali and does not carry over to the rest of the country. The moment you travel onward to Java, Lombok, or anywhere else in this overwhelmingly Muslim nation, the social norms shift considerably, and the assumptions you formed on a beach in Seminyak will not apply. It's not a reason to avoid combining islands. The rest of Indonesia is extraordinary, but it's a reason to reset your expectations at the ferry or the airport rather than after you've caused offense. A note on timing, because it shapes which Bali you get. The dry season, roughly April to October, brings the reliable sunshine, the cleaner beaches, and the conditions the photographs promise, and the largest crowds and highest prices, peaking in July, August, and around the new year. The wet season, November to March, means more rain, more humidity, the beach trash problem at its worst on the southern coast, but also dramatically thinner crowds, lower prices, and an interior that is at its most violently green and alive. For the culture and the inland landscape, the shoulder months of April, May, and September are close to ideal, most of the dry season upside, without the peak season density. So, is it worth it? The honest answer comes down to a single question about yourself. Can you let go of the Bali you already have in your head? If you can't, if you're coming for the exact swing, the exact pool, the exact frictionless paradise of the feed, and you have no intention of leaving the South to find anything else, then be honest with yourself before you book, because you may well come home let down, and there are quieter islands across Indonesia and Southeast Asia that will hand you tranquility without the gridlock and the queues. There is no shame in wanting that. Bali is simply no longer the easiest place on earth to find it, whatever the algorithm keeps promising you. But if you can hold the image loosely, treat the South as nothing more than the door you walk through, get yourself inland and east, give the living culture genuine attention instead of just photographing its surfaces, then Bali is overwhelmingly worth visiting, and the travelers who return changed rather than disappointed are, almost without exception, the ones who did precisely that. The magic was never destroyed. It was buried under the version that sold better, and it remains entirely there for anyone willing to dig half an hour past the point where everyone else stopped walking. In practice, that means spending as little time in the deep South as your arrival logistics allow, basing yourself in Ubud's outskirts or Sidemen or Aimed or the North instead, building your days around the culture rather than the scenery alone, visiting the famous sites at dawn, or making peace with the crowds, and recalibrating your expectations away from content and toward an actual place. One with real problems and real depth that owes you nothing and rewards everything you bring to it. The paradise in the photographs is half real and thoroughly overrun. The Bali beside it, older, slower, sacred, and largely ignored, never went anywhere at all. Both occupy the same island, at the same time. The only thing that determines which one you carry home is how far past the picture you're willing to walk. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, smash that like button and subscribe to When to Travel. We're all about helping you make smarter travel decisions. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And hey, if you think your friends need this, share it. Comment below with your next destination or your biggest travel question. I'm reading all of them. Let's go.